The letters in my grandmother's attic. Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd post here, but I stumbled across something that's changed my life in ways I can't explain. It's about my grandmother, a set of mysterious letters, and a story that's unfolded piece by piece. I think I need to share this. Maybe someone out there can relate. My name's Emily, I'm 27, and last year I inherited my grandmother's house. She passed away at 92, leaving behind her cozy little cottage on the outskirts of town. Growing up, it was my haven, a place where I could lose myself in books, stories, and hours of quiet adventure. But I had no idea she'd been keeping such an incredible story of her own. After I moved in, I spent weeks settling in, going through old boxes, cleaning out rooms, and restoring parts of the house that had fallen into disrepair. Every corner had a memory, the way she'd brewed tea at dawn, the old quilt she'd wrap around my shoulders on rainy days, the little notes she'd leave on her kitchen counter with reminders to always dream big. Every time I'd sit in her cozy armchair by the window, I could almost hear her soft laughter and feel the warmth of her presence surrounding me. But amidst all this nostalgia, I couldn't shake the feeling of loss. The house felt too quiet, and I found myself yearning to connect with her in a way I never thought possible. One evening, as I was cleaning out a small closet in her bedroom, I discovered a pull-down ladder hidden behind a wall panel. I didn't even know there was an attic in the house. Excited, I climbed up, flashlight in hand, ready to explore. The attic was dusty, filled with boxes and covered in that faint, old book smell that instantly took me back to childhood. Among the boxes was one that seemed different, a small, weathered chest covered in delicate floral carvings. When I opened it, I found stacks of old letters tied together with a faded ribbon. Each envelope was carefully addressed to my beloved E. My grandmother's name was Evelyn, and she had been married to my grandfather for over 50 years. But here's the thing, my grandfather's name was William, and there was no indication that any of these letters were from him. The letters were beautifully written, full of poetry and longing, with dates going back to the early 1950s. At first, I thought they might just be drafts of poems she'd written to herself. But as I read, it became clear that these weren't written by her, they were for her. M described her beauty, her kindness, how he loved her from afar. There was one line that stuck with me, "You are the brightest star in my night sky, E, a star I'm destined to follow, even if from a distance." The letters spoke of a love so deep and so unfulfilled that it nearly broke my heart. I spent the entire night reading through them, unable to stop. M had written dozens of letters to my grandmother, confessing his love, his admiration, his regrets. They ended abruptly in 1954, just a few months before she married my grandfather. Who was he? And why had she kept his letters all these years? The discovery left me shaken, and I was consumed by the need to know more. My grandmother had never mentioned anyone named M. I asked my mom about it, but she just shook her head, saying that Grandma had always been private, especially about her early life. But when I mentioned the letters, a flicker of recognition crossed her face. She did have a friend, a young man who used to visit her when she was a teenager. She called him Michael. But he left town before she married your grandfather. I think he was going off to study in Europe. She never spoke about him after that. That was the only clue I had to go on, Michael. I started digging into family records, asking older relatives if they remembered anything about a Michael from my grandmother's youth. Some remembered him faintly, a young man who'd been known for his passion for art, who painted and wrote poetry, but was quiet, often staying in the shadows. I decided to do some more digging online. I learned that my grandmother had grown up in a tight-knit community where everyone knew each other's business. It struck me as strange that she hadn't mentioned Michael to anyone in our family. I wondered if perhaps their relationship was more than just friendship, which could explain the secrecy. As days turned into weeks, I continued to explore the attic and found more letters, ones my grandmother had written but never sent. They were addressed to M, too. In these letters, my grandmother poured out her heart, revealing dreams she had for her life and love. She talked about wanting to travel, see the world, and become a writer, something she'd often mentioned to me over the years. One letter read, "Dear M, sometimes I wish I could escape this small town and find my way to Paris, where the streets are alive with inspiration and art. But I feel so lost, like I'm meant for more than this. I wonder if you're out there, dreaming the same dreams." It hit me like a wave. She'd held on to this part of her life, her hopes and regrets, her secret dreams, and the love she couldn't fully realize. I felt a connection to her that I never knew I needed, as if I was peering into a mirror reflecting my own struggles with identity and aspirations. Determined to learn more about Michael, I kept searching online and finally found a few references to him. It turned out he had indeed become an artist, known for his breathtaking landscapes. A local gallery even had a few of his pieces on display. My heart raced at the thought of possibly seeing his work and uncovering more about his connection to my grandmother. I visited the gallery and spoke with the curator, who was eager to help. She shared stories of Michael's life, revealing that he traveled to Europe in the late 1950s, living in Paris and painting until he returned to our hometown in the late 60s. But after that, he seemed to fade from everyone's memory, as if he'd vanished into thin air. It felt surreal to think of my grandmother waiting for him, dreaming of a future that never materialized. I asked if they had any of his artwork, hoping to find a connection. The curator showed me a collection of his paintings, and I felt an electric charge when I saw one, a vibrant piece of a sunset over the ocean, with colors so rich they seemed to dance off the canvas. It was breathtaking, but what struck me most was the subtle way he had incorporated the image of a woman into the horizon, almost like a ghostly figure, something I had to show my family. With each revelation, I felt myself pulled deeper into the mystery. I returned home that evening, holding the catalog of Michael's work, and I couldn't shake the feeling that my grandmother was there with me, guiding me through this journey. I started pulling together the letters and the stories from the gallery. I planned a family gathering, wanting to share everything I had discovered with my mom and my aunt, hoping they could shed some light on this hidden chapter of my grandmother's life. As I shared the letters, I could see the surprise and curiosity in their eyes. My mom seemed lost in thought, a distant look on her face as she read through the heartfelt words my grandmother had penned. "Mom," I asked gently, "do you think Grandma ever loved him? I mean, really loved him?" She paused, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I don't know, Emily. But I think she must have loved him in a way that was so profound it became a part of her. Maybe it was a love that never truly left her heart, even after all those years." Her words struck a chord. Love can be so complicated. It's often layered with regrets and dreams left unfulfilled. And here I was, grappling with my own uncertainties about love and life, realizing that my grandmother's journey mirrored my own. Months later, as I continued to explore my grandmother's past, I decided to visit the location where Michael had his gallery showings. The small town where he had grown up was just a couple of hours away. I hoped to find more clues and perhaps even talk to someone who knew him. When I arrived, I asked around and discovered that there were still people who remembered Michael, especially for his artistry and his quiet demeanor. One elderly gentleman at a local cafe told me how Michael had always been seen sketching in the park, dreaming up his next masterpiece. As I sat there sipping coffee, I mentioned my grandmother's name, and the man's eyes lit up with recognition. "Evelyn. Yes, I remember her. Michael used to talk about her all the time. They were quite close." He went on to share stories of how Michael often brought Evelyn flowers and shared his art with her. It became clear to me that their bond was deep, layered with friendship and unspoken love. Feeling emboldened, I asked, "What happened to him?" The man's face turned somber. He went to Paris to follow his dream. But he never really returned to the same life. He came back changed, lost in his own world of art. I heard he moved away again, and nobody ever really knew what became of him. I returned home, my heart full of stories that had intertwined, revealing a rich tapestry of love, loss, and dreams. The letters, the paintings, and the memories created a new understanding of who my grandmother was, a woman who loved deeply, dreamed fervently, and kept parts of herself hidden from the world. I decided to honor her legacy by creating a small exhibit in my home, displaying her letters alongside Michael's art. I printed a few of his paintings and framed them, interspersing them with the letters that spoke of their relationship. I wanted family and friends to see the beauty of their connection, the strength of my grandmother's heart, and the complexities of love that span across time and space. As I prepared for the exhibit, something unexpected happened. I received a message from a woman named Clara, who claimed to be Michael's niece. She had found me through social media and wanted to know more about my grandmother. Curiosity piqued, I invited her over to share what I had learned. When she arrived, she was overwhelmed by the letters and the stories I had collected. As we spoke, I discovered that Michael had kept my grandmother's letters all his life, holding onto them as a bittersweet reminder of a love that never fully blossomed. He had shared them with Clara, recounting tales of Evelyn, the girl he loved in his youth. Clara told me how Michael had always dreamed of returning to her, even in his later years. He never married, you know. I think he was waiting for a love he believed he had lost, she said, her voice thick with emotion. The weight of this revelation hit me hard. I realized that the letters were not just words on paper, they were a lifeline that connected our families across generations, weaving a story that echoed with shared dreams and unfulfilled promises. As I held the letters in my hands, I felt a sense of closure for both my grandmother and Michael. They had loved fiercely, and though life took them in different directions, their connection remained a testament to the power of love and longing. In sharing their story, I found my own sense of purpose. I decided to start a community art program in my grandmother's name, aimed at nurturing young artists and giving them a platform to express their dreams and creativity, just as Michael had once done. My grandmother's legacy lived on, not just through her letters, but through the lives she touched and the love she shared. It was a beautiful reminder that love, in all its forms, is a journey worth embracing, no matter how complicated it may be. So here's to Evelyn, to Michael, and to the lives we live in secret, the dreams we carry, and the parts of ourselves that live on long after we're gone.